And welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode 234. My name is Brando, and I'm excited for today's episode. We're doing something a little bit different. I got to introduce my guests, my co-hosts, just my conversationalists today. Patrick Giroux will go there first. Are you from Ottawa, Canada, correct?
Yeah, I'm from Ottawa, and it's Gru. You can just say, the LX is silent. It's French-Canadian, but it's Gru.
Gru, see right off the bat.
It's all good. It's all good. I'm used to it my whole life. But yeah, just Gru, kind of like Steve Carell's character in the Despicable Me movies. Gru, how it's pronounced.
Sure.
Gru.
In my head, I'm just a hockey guy, so I'm thinking, Mario Lemieux. I'm thinking
Lemieux,
that.
yeah.
So, oh, sure, okay.
Gotcha.
You know what? Shame on me right away.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
and that's given me a heads up to how to, I guess, introduce Sandra. Do we say Sandra, or do we want to say? Because I know we're all just regular citizens. Sandra Diaz.
It's Sandra. Sandra's good.
Okay, cool. And where? Because I know Ottawa. I've been to Ottawa. Where are you from?
So I am now in Windsor, Ontario, which is the border city of Detroit, Michigan. But I was born and raised in Montreal.
Okay. It's just talking beforehand. Just see, this is my dumb American assumptions. I'm thinking Patrick, Gru, you had maybe the accent, the French Canadian accent based upon
Gotcha.
But now we have Sandra with the Canadian accent. I love it. And if you're watching on Zoom, you have "Oh Canada," and now just your national anthem is now going through my head. So thank you for that.
Cool.
And we have both Canadians, Patrick and Sandra, on today's episode. They are just regular people. We're all regular people if you want to get in depth, but we're not prying their private information. It's not like me where I talk about being on the radio and in my personal life, things like that. They are just fans of this podcast. So I have two. Look at this. I have two fans of this. And I put out there, and I know many of you saw on social media a few days ago, and the idea hit me, and it's something I kick myself, speaking of kicking myself for silly things. Before I even go off on my normal rant, I got to establish a lot of things that we were watching on Zoom, first of all, as Patrick just sipped from his Ginorm mug, right? Nice. Beautiful.
I've got a shirt, too.
Okay.
The original Appetite album cover, I think it was.
The Robert Smith painting on a long sleeve. Are those from the official merch store, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
You could have said no. I rarely.
Okay.
So here's the thing, though.
It was a gift. How's that? It was a gift from my wife.
Okay. No, that works.
And you don't ask where she got it from, so that's it.
Well, here's the thing, and here's the segue to Sandra. And there's so much to talk about in your background. Before I even get to your sweatshirt, because we're going to talk about that, of course.
Such a nice sweater.
Christmas sweater, rather. Who's that behind you? The picture, is that like Wham?
That's actually Duran Duran. So
Duran.
Oh, that's right.
If you go down that path, so I have my
Def Leppard, I see.
Def Leppard, my Guns N' Roses Up Close and Personal tour from 2012.
Cool.
And when I met Sebastian Bach, and I have a poster from DJ Ashba. So very diverse in music.
Oh,
very cool.
Oh, I love it. I'm hitting off both of you right away with Patrick having to share a shared space with his wife. Yeah. So I do the same thing. And then Sandra with all the stuff on your walls. I'm not going to pan, but half the walls are Dave Matthews Band for my girlfriend, and the rest of it is Guns N' Roses. But this kind of segues rather into the official store, because I'm thinking about getting. I like the Christmas sweater they just put on sale, the Use Your Illusion one. It's half.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's nice, a little expensive. It's like $75, but I don't know. I like Sandra's better. I think
that's a nice one.
So if you're, did you make that?
No, actually, no. It was actually at a store at the mall in Windsor. My friend saw it 2 years ago, and she says, "I saw Guns N' Roses. I thought of you. do you want me to pick you up one? I'm like, sure. So she got it, and now I pull it out every Christmas.
Oh, beautiful. And
That's
I'm
awesome.
wearing what I bought from Ricky Rackman's store,
Cat
the
House.
the Cat House
That's right.
sweatshirt that
Nice.
Axel wore with his Zach Morris phone he was using at the time.
Oh yeah, that's right.
If you know
It's huge. Yeah.
the reference. So I put it out there on social media, and I'm so lucky to have two awesome. I mean, right away I can tell we're going to be lifelong friends.
I think so.
That have listeners engage and respond, and I put out there who has been to a Guns N' Roses riot, because there's more than one. It's
You have to be specific.
It's insane to think about, and I'll say this before it gets lost. Obviously, riots are horrendous. They happen for a variety of things in this world. I'm grateful that both of you have survived your experiences. Because we want to make this a light, happy podcast. So I don't want us to be riot. I want us to at least make sure that we clarify that riots are bad. So
yes.
I put it out there. Of course, there are many riots. So I am going to do a future episode on the St. Louis riot. Somebody from the radio station Keshi down there, I think it was Kishi down there, who's there, is going to come on the show. But today we're going to talk about, as we're in Canada, we're going to talk about the 1992 Montreal Riot. So both of you are there, and I want to get both of your experiences because, I think that's a story. It gets brought up every year. It's just Guns N' Roses have these legendary, infamous tours, and this is, if not the most infamous experience or at a concert. I can't even imagine. And I'll bounce off what I said before. Thankfully, I mean, I don't know if you'll tell me in your stories when I shut up in a second, but I know no one really got hurt because we're in this world where people get hurt at concerts.
Yep.
So this could have been so much worse. So we're looking back on it, thankfully, with some maybe with some smirks here and there. But let's start with if you wouldn't mind, Sandra, because you were the first one for us to touch base. Where were you living at the time? And because I only know about it. I'll say this: you guys are going to teach me what it's like. I only know from MTV, from the Kurt Loder interviews. I don't know what it's like to be, at a riot in general, but to be at a Guns N' Roses show in the early '90s. It's actually, I think today is the anniversary of my first show in 2002, December 5th, I believe. So, Sandra, please just tell us about your experience that day.
So for me, it was completely an event on its own. So let's go back to the way you buy tickets. It's not on the internet. And at that time, when I bought my ticket, I was 20 years old. And my parents are from Spain. So they are very much, they don't want me at 20 years old to go and sleep at the Olympic Stadium to get tickets. So of course I couldn't sleep 2 days before in line to get good tickets. I could go only the morning that they went on sale, and the line was like longer than you can imagine to buy tickets at the Olympic Stadium. But my tickets, my seat were like way far that when I looked at the stage, like Axel was yay big. But anyways, that's beside the point. My friend Mike and I, we are fans of the band, so we decided to go stalk the band at their hotel. They were, we love meeting celebrities, and we decided to go to the Four Seasons downtown to meet the band. We got there early in the morning.
Did you know they were staying there?
Yes, we found out that they were staying there.
Okay.
So,
how do you find out those things back in those days? Because again, in that time,
there's no social media.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it wasn't scary. It was just, kind of like Beatlemania, following a band. It wasn't, today it might be creepy, but not then.
Correct. Yes. So most of the bigger band were all staying at the Four Seasons in Montreal.
Okay.
So that's why we knew they were there. So we went there early. We parked in front of the hotel because nicely, before back in the day, they didn't push us to be on the sidewalk, which was public, and the entrance was private. So we stood there for the longest time. And we already had in mind that we were going to miss Fate No More. So we didn't care about that. We want to see the band. And we did see them coming out of the hotel to go in the limo. We got the wave from Slash, the wave from Duff.
Mhm.
But we never saw Axel. But you know what? I'm a Slash fan. Love the guy. So I saw him. It was good to go. Jump in my car, drive to the stadium. And actually, I parked at the college that was like 3 or 4 blocks out of the stadium because that's where I was going in college. So I used my school pass, parked my car there, walked to the Olympic Stadium. And we were expecting to listen to Metallica play.
Mhm.
The only thing I heard was like people and the light were on. I'm like, okay, what happened? Where's Metallica? And then we found out from people around us that James had the accident on the stage. So I'm like, okay, we miss Fate No More.
Oh wow.
We're missing Metallica. So okay, that's like that's an exciting concert so far. So then I was afraid for the weeks before because I don't know if you guys, well, Patrick probably heard about it, but you, Brando, that the previous weeks and about a month, there was rumors about Axel being afraid to be killed in a city that started with the letter M.
I found out about that after the fact, but I think we just expected him to be late.
Well,
But
yes.
I did hear about that, but it was
So-
after the fact. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've never heard that.
Yeah, there was
I've
a
heard-
rumor from Axel, and he says
okay.
he's gonna get killed in a city. Start with M. So of course, here I am, a fan of the band, never saw them before. I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen? Is he gonna go through the concert? Not go through the concert? Already it didn't start good with Metallica. So I'm like, okay, let's do this. And of course, later and later and later. And back in the day, we didn't know too much at what time he would show up.
Yeah.
Hence, we don't know. You just have to wait and see. But people were getting like, some people were getting mad because they're like, hey, listen, we've been here for a long time. We gotta get this going.
Right.
So the only thing I wanted is to hear my favorite song, Civil War. That's the
Okay.
only thing I wanted.
Oh, interesting.
Concert
And
started. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and I think you did get it.
Yeah, that was implied by my interesting.
Sorry.
That's all right.
So we listen and we get excited, and of course I'm just excited to see the band, even though I didn't really see the band because again it was like little things, but being there, being in the stadium, and I understand why fans don't like stadium concert because the sound at the Olympic Stadium was terrible. There's no lie about it. It was bad.
At the time, the Expos were playing there, right?
You are correct.
So it's a baseball stadium. You're right. Have I really seen? I saw I saw Lady Gaga at Citi Field where the Mets play, but that's like
Right.
But overall, I choose not. I don't like to do that. I saw Metallica at Giant Stadium, but that was like they only play stadiums now. But yeah, so I hear you. Baseball stadiums.
And the worst part about it is at the Olympic Stadium we have a roof which is like made of material, and the sound bounce really bad to that ceiling. So everything together was not the best, but you know what? It was Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
So concert goes, the song goes, and I don't know, I was just waiting for that first note of Civil War. I'm like, okay, I got it. I got my song. So I got it in, and then he decides he leaves.
Yeah.
And then we're all wondering, like, okay, is he going to take a break? Like, you don't know what's happening really at the moment, especially when you're far, far, far. And when they talk, again, with the bad sound, you don't hear really clear what they're saying on the microphone. It's like almost listening to Charlie Brown's teacher talking to you.
Oh, okay.
So you don't, especially where I was sitting, I didn't know what was going on. So I'm looking at my friend Mike. I'm like, okay, that's weird. I mean, usually they stop halfway, maybe for a break, or you have your solo guitar, solo drum, or like the encore. But this is like not even like a lot of songs. And
Like
then
half an hour, I think.
yeah, it was literally half an hour. I'm
Like
like,
that.
okay,
Yeah.
that's not good. And then I don't even know how long after that the lights went on in the stadium.
Right.
I'm like, okay, this is not good. Like, what's going on? Then you see, I was like on one of the sides, but then you start seeing people throwing chairs and then lighting up the garbage cans in fire. And it's like it was getting bad. People screaming, "We want our money," and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is not good. So the Olympic Stadium, just to give you a little idea, is like you have the stadium, and then if you go on one exit, it's the street. The other exit, you go and you have a long tunnel that brings you to the subway of Montreal. So people in Montreal can take the subway, take that long path, and you don't even have to get outside. So you can actually go without your coat in the winter or like
Oh,
something like
perfect.
that.
Yeah.
That's where the Montreal Expos had their store to sell their merchandise.
Okay.
And that store, it was all windows, just windows.
I see where this is going. Uh-oh.
Yeah. So, being a stadium, you have a lot of stairs depending which level you are at the Olympic Stadium, and you have escalators, and then people are starting to panic. What happens when people start panic? They start running all over, they push, they shove, and I'm just saying, like, we have to get out of there. Because remember, when you don't know stuff like that happening and people are mad, they're gonna do anything that they can do to show their frustration. I had the appetite for destruction bumper sticker on my car.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Yes. So I'm like, if somebody sees my
You're
car,
you're a target.
I'm a target because they're gonna see that I'm a Guns N' Roses fan. They're gonna see my car. They're gonna flip my car. That's what I thought right away.
Yeah.
So as fast as I could, we got out of there. We actually passed the store and we saw people like when we walked, the windows were already broken and people were taking the baseball bats that were in the store to
Oh,
trash
wow.
everything out.
Wow.
I'm like, let's get out of here. So we took the long path because you have the path to go to the subway and then you can go outside and that I could go to my parking lot. By the time we were outside, the cops were all over the streets. People were flipping cars.
Yeah.
They were I'm like, let's get to my car and let's take a way out of my way to get home so they don't see my car. I'm not going to drive back to where it was. Let's get out of there. Got out of there in my car, left, and that was it.
Did you? Because it's interesting you mentioned about the Guns N' Roses, the Appetite for Destruction bumper sticker, and if they saw that, they might flip your car. But it's not your fault per se. But is it? I'm imagining Metallica fans lashing out. Or was there something about like Metallica fans being mad at Guns N' Roses, like, or is it just?
No, it was.
I
Is it
think
like
that,
seeing red? Anything Guns N' Roses, I gotta break it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Okay.
people were actually taking their T-shirt they just bought for $35 and burning them into the garbage cans.
Oh wow.
yeah. Yeah,
They were burned.
the one I showed you, Brandon, that Metallica GNR tour shirt, I remember those being lit up, and it wasn't really that Metallica versus GNR. It just more galvanized the city was pissed off at Axl, I think is what it was, and it was just you didn't want to be a target.
Yeah.
Fair
You
enough.
didn't want to. I think I had a GNR shirt, and I remember covering it up, just
Yeah.
running out. Yeah, it was weird. It was really weird.
Was there a hostility? Because we talked about I think even just on that tour there were some issues about Axel having throat problems.
Yeah.
You know, obviously that's the height of him being late and antics.
Yeah.
But was there sort of like a love-hate relationship with seeing where fans were going to like hate watch Guns N' Roses? Because to get to a level of Riot, you know, one thing, it's obviously scary, and it's interesting, Sandra, that you came in after. And I kind of want to ask you a little bit about like what was the mood, where people just like, were they wondering again before social media, is James dead, you know, or something like, I mean, Lars came out and said we'll be
Yes.
back or whatever, but you know how people spread rumors anyway. You know, you don't need social media for that. So it just there's a lot of things to, I guess, to pick apart here.
Oh
One,
yeah.
yeah, what was the first thing when you showed up? What was the mood? I guess towards Metallica before Guns N' Roses even hit. Like, was it were
For,
people worrying about James, or just at that point it's like, let's just when's Guns N' Roses coming on? You know,
well,
what
the
about my
people
concert?
were the people were actually wondering because again, you are in a stadium and you cannot hear. It's not as clear as now that you can hear everything they're saying. So people don't know what happened, because also you have to remember, if something bad happened, they will not break that news on stage with somebody, like with people in a crowd. They'll just say, okay, we cannot do the show, whatever. They were not going to say anything about James. So you could feel like around me, like the unknown, oh my God, is he gonna be okay? Literally. So you have the fact that nobody knows, and then the Metallica fan were all like bummed because their singer just like got into an accident because of pyrotechnic,
Right.
and they don't know if he's gonna even be able to play. They don't know where where is he burned? Was he burned in the face? Was he burned, like, you are in the unknown. And the weight between Metallica and GNR really, so you have to put two things in consideration. You have those guys that start drinking really early. So now they have 2 hours and a half of drinking even more, waiting, not knowing what to do. So now they're like, the way of feeling is like above and beyond what you can expect of somebody who's just going to have a good time watching,
A
because
lot
they've
of
been drinking
Labatt Blue, sure.
a
Yeah.
lot of yes, a lot of Molson,
Olsen.
Yeah.
and don't forget, Canadian beer is stronger than American beer,
That's
so
true.
that's like to the top.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like uncertainty of what's gonna happen next. Like, is like, did Ax, and we all knew Axel didn't know. We didn't know what was going to happen.
But I think it's like you said, it's the two things. Like people, I was there all day. I saw everything, and I saw there was drinking all day for a lot of people. So it was both of those. The disappointment, Metallica only doing about maybe a 45-minute set, I want to say. You know, and you're like, oh well, at least we've got GNR. But then the wait was already normally quite long, but now being the Metallica set was cut short. So you had, I think there was maybe a 3-hour gap, something like that, but I'd have to find out. So, and then you get the hopes up again, and then to take that away, I think it just, I think most people like Sandra and I just left. And there's that small few that just they just kind of boiled over and broke everything, and that's what made the news. But
So tell us then, Patrick, about your experience since you were there all day, and then we can kind of be like when the moment of Riot hit, because we got a little bit of Sandra, and thankfully, well, I guess before I lose it, did you see anybody get hurt, or was it just breaking stuff?
I just saw people breaking stuff and
All right.
flipping chairs, and like, I just was afraid that all, because it was the big oil tanks that they had as garbage can. So that was filled with paper, the programs, because remember back in the day you can buy
yeah,
programs at
Sure.
concert. So
yeah,
it was the huge one. I still have mine like on my shelf. And so they put the paper in the T-shirt and they set that on fire, and then they just throw their leftover beer. So you can
yeah.
imagine if they start kicking that down and it just goes and spread. I just didn't want to be there. I don't want to be caught in a stadium that's getting on fire.
Yeah.
No.
So I got there, out of there as soon as possible, get to my car, and bye. See ya.
And I'm doing some research that, I mean, GNR set was 55 minutes,
Okay.
which
It's
is,
longer than
I
I
mean,
thought.
but compared to their usual 3 hours, I can
How
see
many
it.
how many songs are in the set? I thought there was only about
I'm bringing up an Ultimate Classic Rock article. I don't see it there. This is where I would love to be able to afford a producer.
Actually, I do have the set list.
I remember looking it up. Yeah.
Oh, so you're my producers as well. There you go.
The set list was at 9 songs, and Civil War was the 9th song.
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
So, Patrick, where were you at the time? You're not from Montreal. Like, did you have to travel far to?
Right. So I went with about 5 friends, my girlfriend and a few of my buddies. We were 19. We got a bus package like from Ottawa, which is about 2 hours away, as you know.
Yeah.
So we just arrived there. We were parked across the street from the Olympic Stadium, which is the Biodome, I believe. We were parked somewhere around there, and then we just had to go back to our tour buses after the show. So we were able to just kind of have fun all day and drink and enjoy the band. So we were sitting right on the floor. We saw Faith No More, the only band that played a full set. They were fantastic. And then the wait, it was maybe 40, 45 minutes. I remember Metallica came on and they were great. And then the accident happened. And then I remember Lars coming out and saying what had happened, that James had gotten hurt and he was on his way to the hospital and they were sorry and they would come back.
Where were you sitting when that accident happened? Like, where were you?
We were actually on the floor, on the floor. So pretty far back. I wish I still had my ticket, but like Sandra was describing, Axl was still like this big. You would look up at they had the monitors that you can see a little bit, but it's just that notoriously terrible sound where there's a bit of an echo. And I'd seen other big rock shows there, and it's not the best place to see a show.
Were you able to, I guess, be able to tell what happened? I mean, at all when it happened, like why they stopped? It was
not
Black,
really,
right?
because it was Fade to Black. Not really, just because it was a pyro going off. He was I just think too close, so we just saw a burst of light like we normally would, and you just noticed the band stopping, and then there was a little bit of confusion, but.
Okay, because it's interesting though that you were able to hear Lars come out what he said, where Sandra wasn't, because what goes into Guns N' Roses' performance is that, like Axl was saying, this might be the last time you see us for a while. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Sandra, like a lot of fans are probably like you, they have no information about what's going on, even though I guess Axl's kind of communicating a little bit of what's happening. But so Patrick, when that happened, and obviously we were talking about the wait, what was your experience about, I guess, your friends and people around you?
Well, we waited. Yeah, it was just a long wait. And I think, like what Sandra's saying, at the time, it was really hard to decipher anything that was said. And I talked about it with friends who'd even say, like, every now and then someone would come out and announce, sorry, it's coming on soon. Everyone stay calm. There were these kind of announcements, but I remember just waiting forever for Ginorm. So it was about, almost like a 3-hour wait after the fact.
When they came on, what was the reaction from either of you can answer first? Was it just like, oh, thanks? Or just like, oh, it's about time?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
All of it?
Yeah. I think so. What about you, Sandra, when they came out? I mean,
I'm like, finally, I get to see the guys live, because I, for sure, as a fan, I watched all the videos that they had and watched that famous 1988 concert. And like, you want to feel that excitement, because being at a GNR concert, it's like, it's something that is different. It's like there's no break. And as you guys know, Axl goes for 3 hours now on concert, and
Sure.
Usually there's never opening act. So it's only them for 3 hours nonstop.
right.
And getting that energy because to be honest, Axl, he was doing his thing that he was doing as normal concert. You couldn't tell that he was sick or his throat or whatever. He was himself. So it was, okay, I'm getting this. This is going to be a fun 2 hours now. And
I don't think there was any animosity from the crowd, Brett. Like, I don't think anybody was there just to see one or the other band. There's no way you would leave, like, if you're a Metallica fan and you don't like GNR, I can't imagine someone saying like, no, I don't want to see you. You know what I mean? you're gonna stay there. But so I think everyone was so happy. Like it just brought the place back up, which is I think that's really what caused it. That to bring it finally back up to that kind of crashing halt was just and no communication, not really understanding like what was going on, even by the time GNR finished and it was clear, like we stood there waiting saying like he mumbled something, I don't know what he said, but he's going to come back. And then the lights coming on, and then you were like, well, no, they're going to come back. And then we were being ushered away, and one of my friends was like, no, they're going to come back. And I'm saying, I would tell like the stage is on fire, we are not coming back, no, it's over, we got to go.
When you're being ushered away, are the Olympic Stadium crew communicating anything to you? Like, or just, file out,
Yeah, well, it was chaotic because I remember debris falling from the upper level. So I do remember them kind of, I guess it was security just telling us to hurry out. So we got out of the building pretty quick on the ground floor. And then it was just more once I was outside circling around. I think that's when we saw the riot cops, and I saw a police car upside down. It was flipped over, and we realized how, oh wow, this is not a concert anymore. This is crazy,
So what was the first thing, I guess we'll stay with you, Patrick. What was the first thing you saw that were like, because I want to say overall, because the only other country I visited, Canada, and I'm very proud.
Right. Nice.
Nice. Lovely, very nice people. So to have a riot in Canada,
we welcome you with open arms.
Thank you. When the world is less crazy, I'm sure I will. Actually, quick sidebar. My girlfriend wants to go like to Vancouver, and I was like, yeah, I would love to go to Vancouver.
It's beautiful.
The West Coast.
Yeah.
So, I hope to to find that.
Yeah.
So I'm reading on the same Ultimate Classic Rock article. So about like 53,000 were in attendance, and only about 2,000 in the riot. And as we say, or someone once said, if you bad apples spoil the whole damn bunch, whatever.
That's right.
So what did you see when you're like, okay, this is just some drunken jerk? And I've been to, sporting events and people get into fights. We're like, okay, wow, this is something bigger. I'm in danger. When did that hit you? We got a little from Sandra. Is anything actually? Do you want to add to that? Because we got a little bit of that from you. What was the first thing you saw?
It's like everything else. You have people that, like me, I want to get out of there. I want to stay safe. But you have those people, and that's like in all the history of Riot, that they take that as, yes, I can destroy something and just take advantage of it.
That's exactly it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
There was no reason to destroy that sporting store memorabilia. There's no reason for it. I mean, you are pissed off the fact that Guns N' Roses cut short their concert. Okay, that's fine. But what does the Olympic Stadium store have anything to do with it? Why do you have to trash? It's like the looting of the stores what happened the whole year. Why do you have to destroy stores?
I know.
Because
it's just it's misguided anger, and there's ways to go about it. So sure, you don't need to do that. So I guess when you just started seeing people breaking into the Expos memorabilia store, and how can you do that to Vladimir Guerrero and Delino DeShields?
Exactly.
I was name dropping all the baseball players.
You don't do that. You don't do that.
No.
So, well, Patrick, then I guess what did you see when you were like, okay, this is just a few drunken idiots? So, like, this is a problem.
The first thing my friends noticed was, it was people were lighting those tour shirts on fire, or maybe it was we couldn't tell what it was, but we would just see things light up and kind of falling down. So I do remember as we were leaving, taking my jacket off and covering my girlfriend just so we wouldn't get hit with anything. I didn't see anyone really getting hurt. I do remember some drunken idiots going up to the riot cops. We were trying to get back to our bus. And I remember actually they had formed a line and they were clearing a perimeter, just trying to, clear the streets. And we nicely told them, like, we have to we're from out of town.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Sure.
We just, our bus is back there, And they were nice. So they kind of instructed us what detour to take, and it would be fine. But I saw people going up to the riot cops and just either throwing stuff at them or just being like whatever it was, we didn't really, we just kind of followed along with what they told us to do and kind of left. But it was, I did see the cop car that was flipped over. I didn't see them flipping over, but I saw the aftermath of it. I remember seeing that burning. I wish I would have had a phone. Like it just, like I remember that in my mind. Like what the hell? Like this is a GNR show,
right?
What am I seeing? Yeah, I know it is nuts. I'd never seen it. I was 19. I'd never seen that in my life.
Oh, just unreal. So what were the following days for you, I guess, as a fan, and the following years, because you're obviously both still diehard fans. That didn't deter you from being a fan of the band. Did you, at the time, blame Axl like this? I mean, blame Axl as a media narrative that's often popular. So it's I don't know. I wasn't there.
It's hard.
It's not even just like by your perspective, but
I'll say this. I'll say this, Brandon. I went in as a bigger fan of GNR than Metallica, but I left a bigger Metallica fan. Overall, now it's just water under the bridge. But I do remember that what we found out afterwards. I don't know if someone, I don't know where it came from, but apparently Lars said from the stage that they would just come back. We're going to be back, and then they did actually come back in November. Just Metallica. It was like I guess a continuation of the Black Album tour, and they played the old Forum. And anyone who had a ticket from that show was allowed in. I remember going back to that show, and it was so that was. I think I was pissed off at Axl, I guess, because I was just mad. But I think I was mad that I didn't get to see my favorite band play. I was mad that I didn't get to see two of the best bands in the world play, and I think. But I got over it.
So Sandra, did you take advantage of that deal since you missed Metallica the first time? Did you go?
Well, yeah, funny enough that I missed them completely just because I was talking the band, but I actually was the last ticket sold at the Forum before they sold out.
Wow.
When I bought my ticket, they sold out right after my ticket, so I had the last ticket at the Montreal Forum.
Oh, that's a visual. I love that.
And it closed not long after that too. So it's it just kind of galvanized the city. I think it made Metallica are gods in Montreal, and I think the city got over it too. GNR, they came back and played in 2017, and I remember asking my friends in Montreal, like, what do how's you guys okay with Axl now? And they're like, oh, we don't care,
But for the longest time, GNR were banned from Montreal.
Yes, right.
They were banned. Yes, so they were actually banned from Montreal because no promoter wanted to go through that same thing again with them.
Makes sense. So
they were banned, but then after that, we had like the several different changes of the lineup. So it was no longer like the original. And then they decided to do like the festival at Parc Jean Drapeau, which was on the island. And I mean, you cannot very much destroy other than the stage there. There's nothing else you can destroy because you're on an island. So
it's contained. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
It's contained, and I guess DJ Ashba is less dangerous than Slash. Like you just need.
I think so.
Are we gonna talk about DJ now?
If you want, it's just more of like it's just funny the reasoning, because I'm glad you brought that up, because I wasn't sure if they were banned from just the Olympic Stadium, that venue, or from the entire city. And
from Montreal.
Then the reasoning of, okay, not just like, okay, let bygones be bygones. The lineup is different. Okay, there's less, quote unquote, rapscallions, criminals in this Guns N' Roses band. They're allowed back.
Were they banned from St. Louis? Were they banned from St. Louis, Brando? I can't remember.
Sure.
They must have been. Yeah.
I'm going to talk about that, it might be the next episode I do, next recording, about the St. Louis. And same thing with Philly. It's just
the riots.
It's riots, and how would I have reacted? As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, it's I believe it's today, if not tomorrow, the anniversary when I first saw, like an anniversary, like I celebrate this every year. But it's the remember, like when 2002, when I first saw Guns N' Roses, and then the riot happened the next day. I don't know what that's like, because I just remember, like, am I going to see Axl Rose? Because at the time, no one saw him for years, really. It just seemed like he was a myth. Yep. And if he didn't show up, and in New York, and on that day it was a blizzard, it may have been really. It may have been awful. It may have been awful. Just I'm just really glad, and I wanted to make sure at the beginning of this conversation that we weren't all kind of laughing and remember this. And having remembrances and being like, oh, that person died.
No,
towards the
I
end.
don't.
I'm like, okay, good. So
There were definitely no casualties, and I mean, I think there was probably a lot of arrests, but I don't remember it being that bad. I mean, Sandra, do you remember?
Well, did
No.
it deter you from ever seeing Guns N' Roses? I mean, I guess it didn't.
Oh,
'Cause,
I don't know.
I'll go
Absolutely
here.
not.
So yeah, so let me ask this, Sandra, how many times have you seen Guns N' Roses?
That was my first time, of course. Then the second time I saw them. So I don't have a lot of concerts because again,
Okay.
I'm by myself and I don't have any friends around me that follows them. So I basically just did whatever came from Michigan. But I saw them back when with DJ Ashba on December 2011 at the Palace of Auburn Hills. Then that February 2012, they did the up close and personal in a really little place in Michigan. It used to be called the State Fair. Now it's called the Fillmore.
That's
Okay.
cool.
That was the best experience I had because that was a small place. I was front row, standing in front of
That's
DJ, and I
that's
saw
cool.
them for 3 hours. And that was actually
Wow.
the night that I met Axel after the fact.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
And
'Cause
then,
I shared that on social media. People were like,
yes.
when do I
What?
get to meet Axel? I'm like, I haven't met him. So Sandra's lucky. And I mean, that whole show experience sounds absolutely amazing. I
So
mean,
let
yeah.
me tell you about that
Sure.
experience though, because
Was there a
so
riot? Was there a riot? No.
there was no
No.
riot. It was
Oh,
downtown
boring.
Detroit.
Just kidding.
I know. It was downtown Detroit though, so that's not the best place to stand alone by yourself as a girl.
Yeah, that's right.
So that was back in the day that Axel never went on stage at 8. So he went on stage at, if I'm not mistaken, 11:30, and he played for 3 hours. So I met one of my best friend now, Kelly, at that concert. We talked before the concert, and then after the concert, she says, well, do you want to wait to meet DJ? I'm like, that's my plan. She says, well, if you stay, I'll stay, because at least two girls together, it's better to stay together downtown Detroit. So
Sure.
we stood there. It was not too cold for February, to be honest. And we waited. And of course, they had a gate like about long ways from the door. So if they came, they would have to walk to you because you were not allowed to stand in front of the door. So we saw DJ leave. He left from the door, went into the truck, never saw DJ then. But Fernando, who
Okay.
works with Axel,
Yeah.
came about an hour
Manager.
later, his manager, came about an hour later. We were there, and he told us Axel has said that he will meet you guys. You guys are all allowed one autograph and one picture with him.
Cool.
Wow,
And we
that's
were about
cool.
maybe 10 people there.
That's
So
cool.
we got in line, we got our picture, we got an autograph. And
What'd you get autographed?
my ticket stub.
Okay. Cool.
Very cool.
And that's when I saw the change in Axel. He was no longer the diva from the 1980s and 90s that nobody could approach. He was literally, and he was not even feeling good. He was actually sick that night, but he didn't care. He came and he took his time with us.
Well, that's great. So then let me ask you, and I'm going to ask the same things to Patrick. What is your favorite Guns N' Roses piece of memorabilia? Is it that autograph ticket stuff from Axel? Is it something else? Is there another poster on the wall behind you that I don't see that we haven't spoken about? It could be the awesome Christmas sweater, which I will refuse to call ugly Christmas sweater. It's
No,
not
that
ugly.
is cool. That is a cool Christmas sweater.
My favorite, actually, I made a montage of that concert with my picture with Axel, the pics from DJ. Before the concert, we had met Bubblefoot before the concert also. So it's a collage of everything with my ticket stub. That's like my most,
That's cool. I like
yes.
that. That's
Because
special.
it's personalized. It's not like something that I bought that I no feelings, no emotion attached to it.
Yeah.
That was my experience.
That's
Sure.
cool.
Absolutely. So Patrick, let me ask, what other, because that That was your first show, like that in the Rock. She's going to
Yeah,
fight for your first show.
I know.
I thought it was a big deal for my first show to be with Buckethead. No.
That's pretty cool. Yeah,
So
that
how
was
many
my
shows have you
first-
seen? Yeah.
I've seen them 3 times now. I've seen that show. That was the first one, and then the second one was in 2010, I believe, in Ottawa at the. I don't even know what it was called at the time. The whatever the hockey arena at the time. And so this would have been. So this was post Chinese Democracy. This would have been with Ashba and Fortis. I think they were touring Chinese Democracy across Canada.
Okay.
They had Sebastian Bach opening. They went on at but 1:45.
Was that the same? Because we weren't at the same show, right? Or were
Well,
we? Was that the Suicide Girls opened? Then
No,
Sebastian?
I think that was
06.
earlier.
Okay.
That's 06. Yeah, I missed that one, but we
Okay.
had Sebastian Bach opening, and it was a good show. And then I saw the full reunion in 2017 with my wife. My wife and I, Miriam and I, we're just concert junkies. But I do remember for the reunion show going to the bathroom because I'm an old man. I have a bladder, so I'm like I know they play long, so I was peeing, and then I remember hearing "It's So Easy" starting, and I thought, why would they be playing a track that they're about to play live? Oh no! And then I ran back, and I just made it in time.
You thought that you had more time given your
I'm like,
history.
I was like, Axel, I thought you were gonna be late. What are you doing? So he just.
Wow.
Yeah, it's become a thing around my house. Whenever my son's always, I have a teenage son who's always late for everything. So every now and then he'll show up early. I'm like, you Axel me. What are you doing?
Does he even understand what you're saying?
He does. Okay. I bore him to death with those details. Yeah.
Good. So then what is your favorite piece of Ginorm memorabilia?
I have a couple of T-shirts. I have the classic Appetite for Destruction T-shirt that I love. I wear all the time, but I don't. I've been collecting concert tickets since then. I don't have one from the Montreal Riot. I wish I did, because when I tell my kids about that story, they're like, "Wow, really? A riot?" So they think it's really cool. I'm like, yeah, there was actually music played too, but.
Yeah, right.
But I guess it would be a T-shirt or the newer concert ticket maybe from the 2017 show. That was a great show.
You got both ever to sit around. Not this year because there are no concerts.
Right.
When there was, post 92, when
Right.
you're going to concerts and you're just seeing everyone kind of enjoying themselves, and the band gets on stage. And you're just you're sitting in your seat with your crossed arms. You'd be like, you don't even know what can happen. You've never been. I don't know. I just feel like both would be like grizzled concert.
I know.
After
that. Watch out for debris. There's flaming shirts coming.
I know. Well, look at you, Patrick. You're a superhero. You covered your wife, right, with a coat. I mean, you. Not that happens right. I mean, that's usually like a sitcom premise, but like where the guys and they're both in danger. But I think it's like a King of Queens episode about that. Pushing the lady out of the way.
Are you using her as a shield?
Yeah, or George Costanza when he thought there was a fire at the party and he's pushing all the kids down or something like that. But when faced with danger, you got it, Patrick.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you. I do remember from the Montreal Riot. My mom was picking me up at a wherever it was. I don't remember. I think it was a local mall where it was organized for the bus tour I was on, and there was no social. We didn't have phones back then, and it had made the national news. You know what?
That's important. So so how did your parents react? Right?
They were so worried because they didn't know, they couldn't reach any of us. I think my mom had tried to call the bus company. Who just said they had no way of reaching the driver, but they were coming back, and I remember my parents were like, "Are they all on board?" Because the news would just show the worst of what was going on. So they're like, I think my mom was saying my dad was trying to record it so he could see if I was one of these kids burning cop cars or smashing windows. I wasn't, but
why would he think that over let me just check the ground or something? Maybe.
Yeah, I know.
No. He's not my son. He's in a star right.
But yeah, I do remember them being really worried, and they were happy to see me, and my friends were okay.
What time did you get home?
It must have been really late. I can't imagine I don't. The whole day was such a blur, but it must have been like 4 or 5 in the morning, maybe at that point. Because I know the bus driver had actually told us, which Axel was already notorious for performing late. So I remember them saying that they would wait for us no matter what. This is, I mean, before we knew there was a chance of a riot, you know. We just thought that the worst that could happen is, you know, it'll be a late show, but who cares? But so we got home really late. It was before dawn, but it must have been close to it.
Sandra, did you have a similar experience where people are wondering where you're right. We can't lose that. I'm glad you brought it up at the beginning. There's no social media, and you're seeing the news show the worst of the worst. Where's Sandra? Oh my God! You know,
My mom was waiting for me. My mom was waiting for me awake, and she was just making sure that I was
She saw it on
fine.
the news. I'm sure she saw it on the news. It was
Yeah.
everywhere.
It's like,
every
are you
parent's
okay?
nightmare. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's because again, no social media, no cell phone, no nothing. I was talking to my friend about to their kids, like, we used to carry a bunch of quarters to be able to call our friends on the payphone
That's
and
right.
tell them, okay, in the subway, I'll be on the last subway, and then I'm gonna take it at that time to jump in it to meet people. There was no like texting.
Yeah.
It's
I do
unbelievable.
remember my mom telling me, why couldn't you stop somewhere and call? And I just remember it was just frantic. We were just trying to stay together. We just wanted to find our bus. We were worried that this bus would eventually just ditch us and leave, and we'd be stuck in Montreal. But it was nuts.
Wow. I appreciate both of you sharing your stories, and I'm glad they had more because, you know, it's obviously again scary, but it was we were able to listen to your stories without any sense of dread, I guess, happening. So that's just kind of and then it's getting your perspective. I'm sure is shared by everyone who was there. And as I mentioned at the beginning, this is an event that we talk about every year.
Yeah.
And maybe one day we'll hear Axel's side of it because I'm sure there's part of it. It's like, okay, what really happened? Did he really have like something was really wrong with his throat, and like this whole thing could have been, you know? Does he look back on it like, you know, I wish the communication was better. However, the communication at that time period wasn't the same, even with the microphone. So it's like,
I know there's a
what do you do?
YouTube clip. I think it was from Much Music or Music Plus, like the Quebec MTV that actually had. I saw it recently because it's now the anniversary, but it was like a 10 or 15 minute kind of story about that day, and it's got some of the band's perspective after around the Illusions time, and it's pretty interesting. I remember the band just saying how they were hidden in the back, and then they were rushed into a truck and just like they at one point they wanted to go back on stage, but they were rushed out because it was too late at that point. Like it had crossed the threshold that people were wrecking things and you couldn't reason with them anymore. So
Unreal. I think it's safe to say though, COVID or no COVID, you know, next time Guns N' Roses puts on a concert, they are just on it. It's a professional machine. There's no more chance of riots, you know, just thankfully. I know you both are private citizens, but do either of you have anything that you would want to, you know, promote in the show or talk about? Like, you know, if you either of you have like a, you know, Instagram where you show, you know, Guns N' Roses Lego characters or anything like that, or even Etsy shop, you know, I just figured that I figured I'd ask.
I'm a musician, but I don't really do. I'm just no. I don't really have anything to promote.
Okay. And Sandra, I was hoping that you did make this the Christmas sweater, but I guess
I would buy one.
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't. I actually am a amateur photographer, so I do take, when permitted, concert pictures and videos. So what I'll do is
Cool.
I'll upload some on your and tag you, Brando, on it,
Okay.
so
Sure.
you can share with your fan base. My latest concert that I've been to, because of course my stadium tour from 2020 got canceled, but I saw them in 2018 at the Little Caesar Arena, and I was literally on the side of the stage, and Slash was right in front of me. So I got some of my best pictures
Cool.
in concert of that. So I'll share that with you.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Sandra. And
Very
thank you
cool.
again, both of you, for your time, and both of you being fans of the podcast. And that's how, you know, you both reached out. I think Sandra, a friend of yours, tagged you. You got to
Yes.
talk. And then Patrick, you said you've been listening for a while, and so I just thank you because I put it out there. Also, another question on social media, like how has 2020 changed your listening habits? And Patrick, you were saying that like now you're at home, you're listening to more podcasts, so it's just it's appreciated, and the fact that we all in 2020 can talk about this event and kind of come together a little bit while we're all kind of quarantines, and I don't have to cross any borders. I don't have to get.
That's right. That's true. That's true.
I don't have to get. Oh yeah, maybe one day I'll tell the first story about when I got kind of detained at my first time I crossed the border.
Uh-oh.
It was nothing that bad.
Cool.
It was nothing that bad. You know what? Now I can't leave that much of a teaser. It's not that bad.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, we just told you about a riot we were in. Come on.
Exactly.
Me and my friend, we had some this is like when I'm
so where were we crossing?
We were
crossing over to and from.
This was my parents would not allow me to drive to Ottawa by myself. Okay. I was. This all ties into Guns N' Roses actually because.
Well, your girlfriend was from here, right?
Yeah,
your former. That's right. Sorry.
Yeah, an ex. That's fine. An ex-girlfriend is from Ottawa, and I met her. This was before even real social media dating. I used to have a live journal. I don't know. I was like Guns N' Roses emo kind of hybrid. Where you would write it out. So, but people would find you on live journal, and I would list Guns N' Roses as my interests. It's a kind of like the same things you do now on social media, but live journal was meant to just be like an open diary for your friends, but it was like the beginning of people finding you through your common interests. So I even had like Axl Rose as my background, my backdrop, to where I would write my entries to how much I hated life, or girls don't like me or whatever. I remember I changed the comments where you can leave a comment. The verbiage was to get in the ring. And when whoever left comment, it would say, one person or two person antagonized me. So I made it all. Again, I was crazy GNR before doing this stupid podcast. So, so it was to meet this girl who she's like, oh, you like Axl Rose. And we started talking. We both thought we were, attractive. And this is like the beginning of, webcams, nothing naughty, but it was, it was like, it wasn't like included on a, on your laptops yet. So this is like all old school. So, my parents didn't want me to drive up there to meet her by myself. So I went with my college roommate, and he just looks like a stoner. Let's just put it that way. And like the police came, like we didn't even like hit the border yet. They just came up with like a dog, and probably smelled it. We had so little on us anyway.
Yeah. And
we got both kind of reactions. One cop was like, why would you bring this in? We have better weed here.
That's very true.
And another one, I mean, I was obviously kind of like embarrassed. This is like being detained like some sort of criminal. I know you shouldn't have brought in weed or whatever. I mean, wrong is wrong, but still, like, what are we doing here? And there was one cop that, I don't know, he, speaking of like being grizzled or gruntled, like you guys are just gruntled, fans of going to shows. He's like, so what do you smoke? I had a piece of paraphernalia on me, a bowl. Sorry, kids, a marijuana pipe.
Right, this is before it was electric.
Yeah. So
they were vaping.
He's like, so what are you using that for? What are you smoking out of it? Hashish? Crack? Meth?
Straight to scare you?
Yeah, and I was like, no, just I was being all nervous. No, just marijuana, sir. It's just your typical teenage stuff. Yeah. It was typical teenager. When I was a typical teenager, I was having bullets flown at my face in Vietnam.
Oh no!
I was like, sorry. I don't know how to respond to that. So that was my first time going to Canada.
Okay,
nice.
Well, you're welcome to come back, and I hope you do. It's not always that bad. And seriously, just leave your weed at home next time.
Yes.
A lot better.
It goes without saying. No, it's beautiful. And I'll wrap up saying this because you two are just a small example of just the great people that listen to this podcast. There's a lot to listen in Canada. I have a lot in Australia and just like different other countries. And at least I can say I've been to Canada, so I can feel some sort of I don't know, kinship. Yeah, kinship. The only casino. No. Now it's the second casino I've been to was in Quebec.
Oh
Been
yeah.
to, been to Montreal. That's about it. I got to hit the West Coast.
West, you'll love it.
So, well, thank you all. If we do, I guess a part 2 or whatever, just, both of you just keep chiming in social media.
We'll do.
We'll
For
say that.
sure.
So that wraps up. We're gonna do maybe a riot series. I don't know if I've officially labeled it. It sounds so messed up, but how do you do a riot? A riot Guns N' Roses series.
I mean, it would only work for this band, so
Exactly. There's nobody else that could do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about St. Louis, probably Philly as well. I think there's other Argentina riots, so we'll see where this goes. And there's no way this episode of this podcast will be possible without people like Patrick, without people like Sandra. So thank you both. Thank all of you for listening to another edition of Appetite for Distortion. When will you see these future riot installments? When will you hear the next episode? Who's the next guest? Well, in the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word.